Getting anywhere new? Perhaps you've hit a plateau that has you asking, is this it? Have you accomplished all you've set out to do in life and are not feeling as fulfilled as you thought you would? It is normal at midlife to reassess what's working for you and what's not. It's also normal to want to reclaim your time, your energy, and your joy. Let's make the best out of the second half of our lives by having more fun, experiencing more peace, and feeling more joy. If any of this resonates with you, then this podcast is for you. I'm Megan Bayless Bartley. Now let's get ready to shift our shit.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Shifting Our Shit. I'm Megan Bayless Bartley and I am joined today by one of our awesome therapists at the Mindfulness Center, Kim Hamilton. Good morning, Kim.
Good morning, Megan. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Good.
As you listeners probably imagine, not every therapist, is like chomping at the bit to come on here and is like, yes, choose me. Like, let's do this. So we're going to go real nice and slow with Kim today, but she will do awesome because she is awesome. And we're going to start today. Rob started the tradition about, if today was a something, animal, color, whatever, what would today be? So today I'm feeling, if today was a flower, what kind of flower would today be for you, Kim?
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of in a more than just a day of the flower, but it's kind of like the season of the daffodil for me.
Ooh.
Got a tattoo on my arm.
Okay.
Daffodil is the first flower usually to pop up in the spring and kind of signal the new beginning of the new year, kind of a thing. And so, just symbolizes new beginnings for me. And
I love that. That's awesome.
Kind of my thing right now.
Good. It's good to have a thing. I'm sensing sunflower. I feel like it's bright and sunny. We've had a lot of rain here, and I don't know. It just feels hopeful and happy, and
I can see that.
It just feels like it's just going to be a good day.
Good. Yeah.
Well, today we're gonna ask you a little bit about yourself, about sharing with us a little bit about where you're from, how you got to be a therapist. Just we're curious about why do therapists become therapists, right? Like, so what do you want to share with us?
Well, I guess I can tell you a little bit about myself first. I'm basically from here in Louisville. I moved here when I was 10, so you don't have a whole lot of life before here. So I'm from here, went to school here, and went to University of Kentucky for college, and I majored in accounting.
Wow.
And yeah. And then it was like my senior year, and I'm like, I don't really want to be an accountant, but I also don't want to start over at this point, right?
Yep.
So I just finished and started a career in that, and never really loved it or found much passion for it. So that was kind of short-lived for the most part. I still do dabble in some bookkeeping and things part-time on the side, but
nice.
Spend most of the last 17, 18 years just doing mom stuff mostly.
Yeah.
So
yeah. You've got kids transitioning into big time. Yes. That's exciting.
My oldest, she is leaving for college in a few weeks, and my son, he just got his driver's permit last week, so lots of fun and exciting things happening. Lots of change and transition, but it's good. That's life, I guess.
Yeah. How do you, your first one, like leaving the nest, how are you feeling about that?
I'm feeling okay about it, like today. Well, we'll see leaving day how I feel, but today I'm feeling okay. I'm excited for her. Good opportunity. She's excited. So, and I know she'll flourish wherever she goes. So,
yes,
it's
I like that. Yes. I like that you're allowing yourself, like today or right now, it feels like this, but other times it doesn't feel like that. It feels like a lot of different other things. I think people forget, like, it's not a static sort of thing, that there's a dynamic shift of, a lot of different feelings.
Yeah. Like today I'm okay with it. Excited for her. When we have to go shopping for dorm stuff, it's not as exciting because it's very expensive. And then, the day that I leave her and drive away, I know that's going to be a hard day, but it's okay.
I'll be curious to see, like, I remember that feeling of dropping my kid off at kindergarten the first time, where it was like, oh my gosh, that big shift of like, okay, there they go. And, this is a little different where they're not coming home at the end of the day. If they're
at 3:00 or whatever. Yeah. We'll be like, I hope she just texts me and says that she's okay,
Right. Still alive. Send proof of life.
Yeah. You have to at least let me know you're alive every once in a while.
Yes. Yeah. I can imagine my kids being like, are you going to text me and ask me if I brush my teeth every single day? Like, like that's all I care about. That's all they. Yeah. But well, how you were accountant, you're in the accounting world. How did you end up as a therapist? This is like maybe a midlife shift for you, that you're in a second career, which happens a lot with therapists. I just actually read on Facebook, another Facebook friend of mine will be starting at the seminary in the MFT program to become a therapist too. So how did that happen for you?
Well, like I said, I always kind of knew that accounting wasn't, I didn't dislike it. It just wasn't fulfilling.
Sure.
It's like when I'm in the middle of it, I didn't mind it, but I was always kind of searching for that thing, like my purpose, if you will.
Yes. Right.
And my calling, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
And so most of my life, like, I never really knew what I wanted to be when I grew up, right?
Sure.
All I ever knew was that I wanted to be a mom. And so that's what I did for a long time.
Yeah.
But then, they're both suddenly at school and I'm at home, and it got boring kind of fast, right?
Right. Yeah.
Just spent, a number of years just kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do with myself and where I was meant to be. And I did a lot of volunteering at their school and church and things like that. But it never was, quite right. There's always still something missing. And I applied and got accepted to nursing school twice, but
wow,
never could, do that. The time I'm like, because I could tell it wasn't it.
Right.
And then several years ago, I started having some personal things with my marriage and relationships in my life, and got me more seriously back into therapy for myself. And it was just kind of fascinating to me, how, like, the environments we live in, the people we come from, all of that, how it affects who we are today and the choices we make and all of that. And it's just
100%. Yeah.
fascinating to me, and it's just kind of like, I think this could be it, and so I was talking to someone, and then they told me about the seminary program, and I was like, so it just was over after that.
Yeah. No more applying to nursing school.
No more nursing school. I don't think I like the blood and stuff, so it's okay.
Yeah. That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I wonder too. Yeah. Go ahead.
I always knew I wanted to, like, help people in some way.
Yes.
But I just had to find
a
way that was good for me.
Right. Yes. Well, and I wonder too, like, your desire to be a mom and that nurturing aspect of wanting to grow up human beings, in a certain way. And that, I'm sure, was also fascinating as they also got older, of like, using your therapy skills to
when it's like, I
maybe
don't
help
want to
with
screw them
parenting.
up. You know?
Totally. Yes,
Always
I
that
totally
fear
know.
that you're gonna like mess your kids up, but
Yeah. No, I mean, I ended up,
do your best.
being a therapist. Yeah, because I was like, I need some skills in this area because I feel like I didn't get a lot of skills in my own family of origin of like how to have healthy relationships, how to set good boundaries and all that. I was like, if I'm going to have a happy relationship one day, I remember even in school thinking, even if I never use this professionally, like this is going to be so valuable to me personally. Because I felt like I knew the skills, but the family of origin stuff was so strong about like that was so different than I was raised. So
yeah,
it's interesting how people, get to where they are.
Yeah, for me, it was more about like I wanted to teach my kids how to communicate feelings and
Yes.
their needs and things like that instead of just bottling it up inside and
yes,
that's so important. But
well, and I think our generation, of moms, see that as a value, maybe differently in some ways than the previous generation did, where there's, we see how that affected us if we bottled up our emotions as kids, and now we're trying to get ready to communicate
I'm like, if they
freely.
can learn that now as kids and teenagers, it will really serve them well in all aspects of their life going forward.
Absolutely.
So,
well, speaking of which, one of your specialties, I know you really like working with families, couples, kids, teens. You're kind of our guru at the Mindfulness Center when it comes to all of that. Tell us a little bit about, how you might work with, families to create a more harmonious, atmosphere at home, because sometimes, you have maybe, we call it the identified client, right? Where there's one person in the household is wreaking a lot of havoc. And then, the parents are like, oh my God, we can't handle all this. We need help. But it's not usually just that one person.
Never.
Yeah.
Never just that one person.
Right. Yeah. That's why we're trained in system theory, because it's like the family is a system and it all works together. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about the family as a whole. A little tagline, for me, it's family harmony or whatever.
Yes.
And it really is about that, even when it comes to just couples work. A couple is a family, and they probably have kids or going to have kids and have their own parents and
fur babies even.
And yeah. And it's like how we interact and the experiences we have with everybody and affects everything around us and everybody around us. And
yes,
you have a child who suddenly can't control their anger or is having temper tantrums or whatever. It's like it's probably not just something randomly with that child, right? It's like what else is happening at home? What's happening between the parents? What's happening with the sibling? What's happening at school?
Yes.
So there's just so much more to look at than just, oh, this kid is mad all the time.
Right. Yeah. And that's one thing I've been really, purposeful of at the Mindfulness Center is not to get into like the pathologizing of like the person. Like, so that's something, clearly it might need to happen, but it's not like you bring your kiddo in and, we're going to recommend medication and then they're going to magically calm down.
Yes.
This is more about like, seeing the whole system of how everybody in the family sort of plays a part in this whole, it's kind of like a puzzle, you're putting all the puzzle pieces together to see how it's going to fit, most beautifully instead of, haphazardly or whatever. And I think a lot of times you need a little assistance on that. If it is, if your car was not running smoothly, and it was making a weird noise and it would caught your attention, you would take it to a professional to look at, even if maybe like as professionals ourselves in this field, it can also be helpful to get an outside opinion, right? Like oftentimes our own families don't want to listen to us as therapists, right? That's not our role in the family. So
and that's not to say that anxiety is not a real thing, or ADHD.
Sure.
These are definitely things
absolutely
that kids and adults and families are dealing with that affect family as a whole, that needs to be dealt with. But there's other, like, what are some tools we can have to help manage those as a whole? Like, if you're a parent with a child with anxiety, how can you best support them and help them work through the worry or the overwhelm in the moment? And
exactly
what kind of things are you doing that you may not be realize you're doing that are adding to their overwhelm?
Yes. Well, I know in my own family, it's just like looking at everybody's personalities and like dispositions of like, if you've got super high extroverts or super, introverts or whatever. And, you have to see how that all works together and how you can optimize that so that it's not like one is right and one is wrong, but that it all can work in harmony together. And, knowing what each person might need a little bit differently, so that the family can run a little bit more smoothly.
Yeah. I think the most important thing for parents to understand, though, is that therapy isn't like a miracle thing. You're not gonna come for one
and done,
Yeah, be fixed suddenly. They have no anger issues or whatever. It's it's a process. It takes time, and and it takes them as parents doing some work as well.
Absolutely. Well, and, especially if you're bringing your kid in when they're 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, things have been maybe working a certain way for all those years. So, not that you need to be in therapy those many years, but you need to sort of unlearn some of the behaviors and beliefs that have been set so that you can
sometimes it's
look
just
forward.
Getting the parents to understand that some of it's just developmentally normal.
100%.
12-year-olds, they just have an attitude. Sorry. It's his life.
Right.
And that's okay. And how can you respond to that in a way that doesn't turn your family
absolutely
upside down,
Well, and I remember like working with a lot of couples when they're in those first 6 years of life with little kids, and I say, those first 6 years are all affect oriented. You're not going to be logical and rational. This is about like redirecting and all that, and they're just like, what? And it's like, yes, it's normal for those kids to have big feelings and big tantrums and everything, and we don't want to tell them they're wrong or bad, but we want to give them tools about how to best take care of themselves.
And you're not a bad parent because they do. It's like, that's just
exactly
how we develop. And
exactly,
just how the brain works.
Very cool.
Sometimes, but.
Well, we are going to stop there for this part of our episode, and we're going to come back for part 2. And Kim's going to share a little bit of her own experience in therapy, which I'm excited about because I've heard a little bit about, some interesting things she's done in her own therapy. So join us for part 2, and we'll be back here in a moment.